hey, ain't there no more, or it's different now. But the spirit is still consistent.
Oak Street's highly walkable village in the city quality of life seems to be only getting better as time goes by. There's a true sense of community in place on Oak that is at once timeless and unique. Collectively, it's managed to find that ever so elusive balance of holding on to its past while carefully curating its future. What I love most about Oak is that it knows exactly what it is and what it's not, and it's one of the least touristy, independent neighborhoods in all of New Orleans.
We're local and educational. You're watching WLAE-TV, celebrating 40 years of New Orleans public television.
Inside New Orleans Sports with Eric Asher is underwritten by...
At Villeries Florist, we deliver the magic of flowers 7 days a week to the North Shore and South Shore in the New Orleans area. Whether it's for birthday parties, baby celebrations, Villeries provides colorful floral displays for all. With a store full of fresh-cut flowers, exotic tropical flowers, orchids, roses, and even fruit baskets, our goal is to make your vision a reality. Villeries Florist, proudly serving Louisiana since 1969.
Dave Miette Insurance Agency. Auto, home, flood, business, 504-556-0809. Dave Miette, INSagency.com.
C&C Drugs is a family-owned pharmacy that's been serving Southeast Louisiana for over 50 years. Whether you need help taking care of an elderly family member, a growing child, or even a pet, C&C provides patient-centered care for your entire family. C&C Drugs, large enough to serve you, small enough to know you. Locations in Mandeville and Araby.
Good evening and welcome to another edition of Inside New Orleans Sports. I'm your host, Eric Asher. Over the next hour, we cover all the home teams. Saints, LSU, Tulane Pelicans. He's back on the program. You ask for him all the time. Mike Detillier of WWL Radio is our guest. Mike, welcome back to the show. Always good to see you, my friend.
I appreciate it. That Michael, man.
I almost said Michael. Well, you know,
the last one who called me that is my mom.
Well, you know, and the reason why is, again, on your X account is Michael, right? And I got to get used to. I should have said Mike, but it's Michael, so we'll go with Mike. How's that?
Yeah, that all works, and so glad to be on. And always, man, I hear it. No matter how many times I come on, people, man, enjoy listening to Eric's show and everything else. And so you got something rolling here. And I know my boy JC out in Denver. He was my spirits guy at one time. Yes. But he moved to Colorado, right. So I know he always watches.
Avid listener, a viewer, no doubt. Mike, before we get started, I know you guys are getting geared up for football season over WWL. Anything else you want to let folks know about?
No, that's pretty much it. I mean, we're gearing up, and the anticipation for LSU and the hope part with the Saints.
Yes.
It's the highest since Coach Sean Payton left the team, that you got something here, because you might have that, and I really believe you got the young quarterback. And we'll talk about the keys later, but I do think the Tyler Shuck stuff is real, and that is giving you momentum, and you still rebuilding. Man, I've heard people say, oh, this team is built. What built? What are you talking about? There ain't no built.
I agree.
You still building this football team. This is a major rebuild. It wasn't just one or two pieces, and you did a great job of piecing together the 2025 draft. Now let's see if you can back it up with a second draft class and free agency class now, and get this team to, they're going to be competitive. They're going to be in the hunt. And I've said this many times on the show, locally, nationally, WWL, it doesn't matter. This is like you are watching four sprinters hit the tape at the same time. Everybody's got that head down trying to knead in, and I think that's what you'll see in the NFC South. And expectations huge. We're doing this Thursday. I just heard Lane Kiffin talk, but everybody else was talking about him.
Right.
Every coach there, one way or another. So great expectations for LSU. They spent a lot of money on that roster. So hey, when much is given, much is expected.
Yep. I got to give Lane a lot of credit too, expanding his monologue so there's only time for a few questions at the end.
He would be great in Congress. He could filibuster that babe, and then, okay, time for questions. Then what, last question? It was the 4 questions.
Right, 4 questions.
That was it. And I give him, Lane was slick with that.
Yes, he
was slick.
He understood, again, how to expand that monologue and keep it rolling. So that was at SEC Media Day earlier today. And of course, Lane Kiffin speaking, the last speaker, and believe me, the house was full with media members. Nobody left Tampa to be able to, before they talked to Lane Kiffin. I'm with you. I think there's a lot of excitement here in the city, and rightly so, because of Tyler Shuck and what he was able to do the last part of last season. I think you got to be cautiously optimistic based on, again, who they were playing, but at the same time, you look at, again, who was playing with Shuck. That's got to make you feel good. But at the same, but also when you look at where the Saints are, I think realistically they are a year or so away. They are still rebuilding. I think a lot of people don't realize that. They see this and they think NFC South, you might be able to make the playoffs, but again, it's going to be a different world if you get to the playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely. And for a lot of people who maybe don't have as much time as what we've had in this, they understand. Yeah, what happened in 2006 was unbelievable. It was the lightning shot that no one could have predicted. And the fact, too, what Drew Brees did was fantastic, coming off the injury that he had. And then, we saw the emergence of Sean Payton and what he was able to piece together, and you 1 game away from Super Bowl Sunday. That's unreal. But there is a process in building a football team, okay? And it doesn't happen overnight. Sometimes it's quick, but it doesn't happen overnight. And this football team, when you're talking about last year at this time, did we have any answers to questions? None. You got a few more answers today. I think the key to this 2025 season comes down to 2 things. 1, building upon the 2025 draft. And that's, you got a left tackle in Kelvin Banks Jr. When I look at players and I grade film and I watch, can he handle another team's best pass rusher one-on-one on 3rd and 8? He was able to do a lot of that, and without much help, and sometimes no help. He was on an island. And so, building upon that, and then certainly with Shuck, Bill Parcells said this years ago, but nothing puts the battery cables on a battery better than a young quarterback. It gets the juice going. And I think that's what you got. And also, too, you look in the secondary with a Quincy Riley, Jonas Sankas, Danny Stutzman, kind of his role in this defense, which is mostly 2 linebackers. But what is his role going to be? Devin Neal, who I think will end up being, he's going to be a backup, but maybe some quality snaps along the way. Vernon Broughton, who basically got a redshirt year last year, but he's back. And having him and another young player in Christian Miller at that defensive tackle positions, because you have some age there with Devin Gottschall and Nathan Shepard. And quietly, Nathan Shepard's one pretty good doggone player in the middle. He didn't get a lot of credit, but I think he was a solid pickup for this football team. But still, you are paper thin at cornerback and safety. Somebody sent me some articles about, safety is one of the deepest positions the Saints got. Why? Because they got numbers? Any of those guys can play? Come on, it's the 2 positions you are paper thin at. Cornerback, safety. What happens if you have an injury to a Kool-Aid McKinstry? Or you have an injury to a Julian Blackman, which, he's back-to-back injuries, almost a little bit similar to Eric McCoy. So I'm optimistic. I think this is a team that is building its way out of football purgatory more and more, but they still have a ways to go and injuries, okay? Nobody in this league has depth. And we did the Louisiana Line Camp. Pete Jenkins had it out at Nichols State in Thibodaux in June. They had 13 different defensive coaches who coached in the NFL that were there. And all of us said, tell you the same thing. We got no depth. I like what we got the front line, but man, if we got to go to our fourth corner, our third safety, if we lose a pass rusher, you talk about a monumental drop-off. And so this stuff about next man up, well, you know how I feel about that. That's a bunch of horse hockey. That's great for high school. Okay, it's not realistic for college and the pro game. There is a dramatic drop off. So you still have that. The third factor for me is you have improved in the punting position with Ryan Wright, who I think is a really good punter. And I think Barrion Brown will end up being a good return man for you. Tell me who's going to be the place kicker for this team.
Well, I don't know it yet. I mean, again, maybe it's the, what is it, Tanner from the USFL, who again was kicking 60-yard field goals. Maybe it's Charlie Smith. But both guys, again, are not battle tested in the NFL.
So, Hebert catches flack for this. You know, I couldn't go to practice. This guy just had the knee surgery. And so every day he's telling me, man, Mike, Blake Groupie, unbelievable. He was 6 for 6 today, 5 for 5 today. So we go on the air and he's telling everybody, man, Blake Groupie, unbelievable. 5 for 5, 6 for 6. Then all of a sudden he gets into the regular season, shank, miss. And man, the phone lines light up. Hebert, I thought you were supposed to know. He was like, what do you want me to tell you? He hit 5 for 5, 6 of 6. But it didn't carry into the regular season. It's the same thing today, and I know everybody's looking for content, but you can't really write a story about linemen when you're practicing in pajamas and slippers. Come on. I can tell you, and we get a lot of questions, how did the left guard look? Or David Edwards, okay, he's impressive to interview, and I can tell you what he did in Buffalo. Okay, they're not hitting, okay, they're going through. I think the one thing with OTAs that you can find out, does a player know his assignments? Does he understand what he's got to do on every play? And I think sometimes you can pick up, and I'll watch footwork and hand placement skills for offensive, defensive linemen. That part I can see. As far as he's real physical, he's a great run blocker, how can you tell? Okay, they're not doing anything. But that is going to be the course of tomorrow, because you and I think we'll live long enough, and I think it's quick. 18-game regular season. I agree. 2 bye weeks during the season. And so there's going to be more OTA work on the mental part of the game, more than anything. And I think a lot of people, oh, if you can play in college football, you can play in the pros. Yeah, believe that. You want to believe it, but it ain't accurate. You got to know what you do, not 40% of the time, not 80%, all the time. Now you're gonna have some mental mistakes, but I do believe there is more and more in talking to coaches. They are emphasizing the mental part of understanding what you have to do on each and every play. They can tell pretty quickly if a guy can play or can't play, but do you know your assignments? Do you know your assignments? To
your point, mental, again, when you talk about kickers, until you get them on the field in a game, you don't know the mental aspect of it, whether they can, knock down those kicks with pressure. Hence, Groupie, again, not with New Orleans anymore. I do want to ask you about hand placement, because you mentioned it. And one of the things that was talked about with Cesar Ruiz is, again, when he first came into the league, his hand placement was different than when it's been over the last few years, and he has struggled. This is a big year for him, again, especially with the Saints going in the draft and drafting another guard. What do you see in Ruiz when on the field in terms of his technique, and what do you think about him as a Saint going forward, considering his contract and, of course, the fact that they went out and drafted a high pick at guard?
Well, it's make or break for him this year, because if you don't make it, then next year somebody else is taking your spot. That's just the way of the NFL. His hand placement skills are inconsistent.
Okay.
And he gets beat not so much on an edge move, interior, somebody cutting in. So he's got to be able to kind of move his feet a little bit quicker to stall that quick cut inside. Now they're trying to get mismatches where, okay, you're a 310, 315-pound lineman. I'll get a 260-pound guy. Okay, you might physically be able to move me, but if I don't give you that shot, I'll athletic you up front. And so for him, inconsistent hand placement skills, and it's also his inability at times to get that left foot out to kind of thwart that really hard inside move that you see with him. I'm not sure, to be honest with you, his best position isn't center. And maybe, Eric, if things, you know, man, the one hope I have is that this offensive line can stay intact. Because I think it's a really good unit, but I also know the reality. Those positions get hurt more than any other spot, college and pro football. You're going to lose people. If something would happen to McCoy again, then I'm moving Ruiz to center.
I agree, 100%. I don't know why they moved him out of that spot when he was drafted out of Michigan. He was a center. To me, I still don't know why they're not cross-training him at center. Again, I'm hoping they'll see that in this training camp. And when you got a guy that's missed 20 games over the last 2 seasons, he is officially injury-prone. So you have to be able to have, again, a backstop. They had it last year with Fortner. I'm not sure if they have it this year unless they're going to move with it within the interior of that offensive line.
Because you're talking about Torricelli.
Right.
And he looked good in preseason, but here's my thing. That's preseason.
You're
That's
a
not
center.
a regular. And you are the captain up front. You are making the calls to the other guys across the board. So I do think that is, Kellen Moore had a lot of things on the plate year one. But I do think he understands that if you would have another major injury, you got to kick. You don't like to move one spot to another and then you kind of negative both. But in this position, you got to move him over the center.
I agree.
And get you another right guard.
I think it's long overdue, and especially after what we've seen out of McCoy over the last few years. Not that he's diminished in terms of his skill set, it's just he just cannot stay healthy. And this is a different offensive line, a different team when he's healthy. On the defensive side, you mentioned the safety position, which I think, again, starting-wise, with Reed and Blackman, they are one of the better ones in the NFL. They chose to move Sanker to the star position. If there's an injury, do you see Sanker moving back to a safety position? If so, who moves into the star? I mean, it's much like what we just talked about the offensive line. If you're going to shift players around in terms of position, you're moving a lot of different players a lot of different places, and they have to, again, readjust.
Martin Emerson, for me, is much better off on the edge, not so much
so as an
in
outside
the slot
corner.
as an outside corner. Would you decide to put Quincy Riley there? You know, and he has seen some work there, and to be honest, so has Kool-Aid. He has seen some work there also, but Eric, that for me would be a major shift across the board if something happens and you lose that star guy, because you're not only affecting the star position, you're affecting your depth at safety, you're affecting your depth at corner. Man, it's one domino after another. That's why this team is going to have to make a concerted effort in between now and the start of the regular season, go out and get another corner and safety. And I'm not talking about somebody that was in somebody else's camp. I'm talking about somebody who has played in this league. And that might cost you some money, but I think you're going to have to do it.
Well,
you're definitely going to have to do it.
They have the money under the cap. That is no excuse. If they have a deficiency at a position, they have the money to go get that player. The question is, again, do they want to make a deal? Do they want to give up draft picks, et cetera? In my opinion, that's been one of the issues going forward this offseason, is to see, again, what they're going to do to try to fill in that quality depth at positions, because they are lacking in some positions, as you've mentioned. Stutzman, I think he's going to play a lot. I think that, You know, again, obviously Ellis comes in with a different skill set. We know what Werner can do, but we saw what he could do at Oklahoma. He was a tackling machine, and I think they're going to utilize his skill set this year in that linebacking core, and more of a rotation than maybe we saw last year with Demario Davis.
Yeah, and having watched him, I think his best position is where Caden Ellis is going to line up.
Agreed.
That's his best spot, but he could play in the spot Pete Werner was in. How they use him, will it be down and distance situation? I don't really know. I do know one thing. This team is really well coached on defense.
Yes.
Brandon Staley, he knows what he's doing as a defensive coordinator. And he can press the right buttons with players. You saw of him putting Cam Jordan back to where he was going to get the maximum amount of production. You know, Todd Grantham, he was a cluster with this team, trying to kick him inside. Cam's always been the edge guy. What he was able to do with Chase Young, okay? The Chase Young I saw last year was very similar to the guy that I saw at Ohio State. He was better than he was year one in Washington.
Agreed.
Because not only as a pass rusher, played the run much better. Okay, that was never a strong point for him.
Yes.
And now you hear it from other players that have talked to us about it, his leadership skills. And, you know, for a guy, it was the second overall pick in the draft, to say, hey, look, let me tell you my story. You know, second pick in the draft, Redskins got rid of me, or the Commanders got rid of me.
Right.
Okay, I'll go to San Francisco. They didn't want me there either.
Right.
I signed with the Saints. So he's been scuffed, okay? And for a lot of younger players, they think, man, everything is golden. I'm in the NFL, everything's gonna go right. It doesn't. You're gonna get scuffed along the way. And so I think him and his leadership skills will really help this team fill at least a bit of a void left by Demario Davis. The other thing, too, is I know what Carl Granderson can do. He's a solid player, solid to good player in this league. Can you find another guy? Because, you know, we know what Cam can do. And my thing with Cam, understanding that Jordan won't be able to play the 60 or 70 snaps anymore.
Right.
Here's what I would do with him, saying, hey, look, we'll play you a little early in the first quarter, take you out. Where we want you, midway into the second quarter, in this half, get a pass rush. And in the fourth quarter, I want you raring to go. I am a firm believer nothing wins more games in this league than a pass rush in the fourth quarter. Nothing wins it. Because, you know, you sort of tire out. And we've seen this before, teams losing by 10, 12 points. Man, the quarterback's back there. Nobody's close to him. Man, and he just pegging off this guy and that guy. Have Cam ready for the fourth quarter, that they can't always sort of team up on Chase Young.
Yeah.
And the big X factor is Tyree Wilson.
Right.
And what's going to be with him? 7th overall pick in the draft. Watching him at training camp, I saw, just from a technical standpoint, he does still play high as a player. And if I'm an offensive lineman and I know that, man, I'm going to get under his pads and sort of move him around a little bit. But he's a freakish athlete. Can Bo Davis and Coach Rogers get him in the right spot where he can be really productive? And also the mismatch, if I move him from in to tackle, and I got him up against a guard, I want that matchup. He's the X factor for me on defense of can they squeeze that orange and get a lot of vitamin C out of it.
I think we saw last year Chase Young come in and play the type of football he played, and by him doing that, he was the guy that took the double teams. Now the rest of the line kind of plays off that, where in the past it's always been Cam Jordan. So now, again, the defensive end on the other side is getting one-on-one in a lot of cases, again, on the pass rush on that side. So, you know, by Young being healthy and being the player he was, you know, he kind of lifted the entire defensive line. I'll be interested to see, again, if that's sustainable in year 2.
I think he will have a better, if he's healthy, he's going to have a better season this year than a year ago. The other guy, too, and there's a couple guys here on this team, but Anthony Jennings, he's not a great pass rusher, never has been. But boy, he can play the run. He's really good, and his chase down skills are outstanding. But who gets paid in this league? The pass rushers. They get paid. What Jennings does is he does a lot of the dirty work.
But that's needed and necessary.
Because you know what? You can't have stars across the board. That doesn't work. You gotta have complementary players. And so Anthony Jennings being brought in, I know what he can do. Plays the run well, chase down on running plays. Does that really well. A key player up front is, can Brian Bresee break through this year?
Fifth-year optional, he's playing on that.
And so, 1 year, and it's a situation where you knew when he came in, he was a little bit of a project from a technical standpoint. We talked about it on the show the days after they drafted him, that it was going to take him a little while. Is this the breakthrough year? Because for an interior player, he has unusual athletic gifts. There's nobody else on this team like him as an interior player.
His fit in this hybrid 3-4 that we're seeing?
Well, sometimes I would use him as a 3-4 defensive end. And then other times I'd kick him inside, just depending down in distance and how I'm trying to use him. He plays a little high up against the run, and I think he's gotten better technically in kind of sinking down and making sure that that guy doesn't come into his chest and move him back. But I think it's a key year for Brian Bresee, and also it keeps the linebackers free. If you're able to kind of cut up in that middle, and that linebacker's got a free run right into
Which is the design of the 3-4, right?
That's what you're trying to do. But man, Brandon Staley, I don't know if you could have picked a better defensive coordinator.
I just hope they can hold on to him, because if he has another year like he had last year with this team, I think teams will look at him again as a head coach.
Okay, you really think that?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I just look. It's always the flavor of the month, right? I mean, it is.
I get it, but the only thing is, the way it ended with the Chargers was not good.
No, it wasn't. I agree.
And two is, he may get an interview or two, but you know what everybody's looking for? That hotshot young offensive coach who looks like he's just come off Muscle Beach. You know what I mean? It's almost like they molded him out. You have a certain look, certain feel, everything else, and they're hiring these 30-something-year-old guys, early 40 guys. So I understand where you're coming from. I do think the way it ended with him with the Chargers, man, how are you going to sell that to another fan base? Okay, because I think everybody's going to say, oh, Dennis Allen got that opportunity too, didn't he?
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Last year on defense, we saw the really change in the defense when Young came back from injury, but also their ability to stop the run. And when they really started to stop the run consistently, you saw the line. You saw the defense change. Talk about this defensive line, the second level as well, the ability to stop the run.
Yeah, I mean, it's the key defensively, because if you can stop the run, then you giving your players a better opportunity on third down, get after the quarterback. And so one of the things I saw a lot of in the offseason, just watching a lot of tape, and this was used years ago, not as much in recent years, but I see it has sort of come back, is that they pinch you off the sides, the ends drive in hard, and that quarterback steps up in the pocket, and you sending a linebacker or a safety up to shoot, and he's going up against a guard. So even if he doesn't make the tackle, he steals your launch pad as a quarterback. So what do? Okay, you can't go to the edges, and if you step up, you go side to side. It's a nice little concept you're seeing in all these hybrid safeties now, who all look like what I used to see linebackers look like years ago. And it's so funny. One of the things throughout the press conferences Lane Kiffin has had in the spring, he has brought this up numerous times. He's telling you without telling you that okay, when we see something new in college football, it's not something we invented. It happened in the pros first. What he's telling you is 12 personnel, possibly 13 personnel.
Right.
You're going to see a lot more teams using multiple tight ends.
Agreed.
You get the mismatch. That was part of it too at Louisiana Line Camp. Everybody was asking Coach Jenkins about it. What would you do, Coach? They got, 13 personnel. Okay, if we go smaller, you know what they're going to do? Mash you in the running game. If you line up with just regular, is that linebacker going to cover that 6'5", 240-pound kind of hybrid wide receiver tight end?
Right.
You ain't got a prayer. So what do you do with this? And I think it's part of the unknown entering this year of exactly how you're going to use that. But look at the tight ends that were drafted from the middle of round 2 into the beginning of round 4.
Right.
They had a run on them big time. NFL teams are saying, okay, our defensive guys aren't sure how to stop this.
Right.
Let's go to that. Let's give them that big look. We could run the ball better, but then when we kind of flank them out, who's going to cover them?
Right.
A linebacker? Linebacker's not going to cover that guy. Now, a lot of people might say, well, McVay's system is because Sean McVay is pretty sharp, and he is. And he's got 3 guys that they all look interchangeable to me.
Yeah.
They all look like the same guy. So what did they do in this draft? In round 2, they picked another tight end.
Right.
We have a guy on who covers the Rams, and he said this, and I know a lot of people who cover teams, and they get told things, but don't say it. Don't say it. And he was like, yeah, he said, it was just invention just because of the fact we lost all our receivers, so we had to go to 13 personnel, 3 tight ends. But he said, how would the NFL react if we went to 14 and 4 tight ends? Okay, he just pulled that out of the sky. Somebody is tinkering with that. And since he covers the Rams, I suspect McVay has tinkered with that a little bit of let's show them that look. And you think about the Rams and how well they throw the ball, but you know one thing they can do? They can run the football.
Right.
And so, and name me one offensive lineman of the Rams team. Goes to show you,
Right, no.
they ain't doing it
want
in a college term. They're not doing it with 4- and 5-star recruits, okay?
So we see the change to the 3 tight end, maybe a 4 tight end. How does the defense counteract that?
Eric, you kind of caught in checkmate a little bit. You see a lot more 12 personnel.
Right.
I'm convinced of that.
I agree with that.
A lot
Look at what the Saints did this year.
Okay, you go out and get Noah Fant, then you draft Delp in the 3rd round. So already you can see the Saints have finally walked into that tight end deal. It's peculiar because now you've got a young quarterback. Does he see what's happening personnel-wise?
Right.
Because if you went smaller, my thing is I'm running the ball. Because if you're going to go smaller and an extra DB, if you're going to a dime, good enough. Hey, buddy, let that 190-pound cornerback try to tackle what we got, and I got a 6'6", 245-pound tight end blocking you.
Right.
Figure that one. And then downfield, it's easy to get the football over the middle today. I think that opening today in the middle of the field is more open than at any other time in my lifetime. I see where a tight end half blocks, gets off that guy, swirls to the middle, hit him over the middle. 8-9 yards. Can he get something after the catch? Maybe so. Guess what? I've moved the chains.
Right.
And I got a mismatch. And these safeties are what, 5'10", 5'11", 6 foot tall. Every once in a while you find a bigger guy. But the other part too is to try to combat that. There were more safeties picked in this draft class than any other 7-round draft. Everybody is, I want Emanwari. I want somebody like him.
Yes.
Okay, not everybody's Nick Emanwari, but I've got to figure out a way that I can match up with a tight end downfield in coverage.
Right.
I've got to be able to do that because I've got to play more nickel. I've got to play more dime coverage. And I do think, Eric, that is going to be something to watch defensive coordinators adjust to what's happening. But all I'm telling you is that was the big discussion there. If we go small and we go to nickel and dime, they're going to run it.
Yeah.
And then if we play standard, guess what? The linebacker gets caught up against a tight end. He can't cover him one-on-one downfield. And what are the colleges churning out? Yeah, receivers, tons. The other part, the flex tight ends today. They churning them out. I go to these camps, you see a kid 6'3", 6'4". You play defense? Oh, no, coach, I don't play defense. I'm a wide receiver or a flex tight end.
Right.
Whoa. I never played defense. What? You 6'3.5", 6'4"? You never played? No, never played.
Big speed, can catch.
And now, you look at what LSU got in Trey Green. Because somebody's asked me that. Can you compare him to any other tight end in LSU history? I said, I can't. Man, I love Mason Taylor. I think he was tremendous. Mason wasn't that big. He wasn't that fast.
Right.
And when that ball's up in the air, Trey is like a guy on a basketball court going up for a rebound.
Yeah.
So we ain't reinventing the wheel here.
Right.
Throw it to him and let him go get it. And the pass don't have to be exactly where it's supposed to be.
Right.
Just get it in the neighborhood. And Trey is going to go up and get it. But look at all the tight ends. Each and every year, more and more. I see them from the high school ranks to the colleges and now entering the pros. Eric, we in that era of the pass-catching tight end and how the NFL will try to combat that.
Mike Detillier of WWL Radio is our guest. I'm your host, Eric Asher. We'll hear from our underwriters. We come back. We'll talk LSU and Tulane. Stay tuned for more Inside New Orleans Sports.
Located at 3701 Iberville Street in Mid-City is Katie's Restaurant and Bar. Open 7 days a week, Katie's offers daily specials for lunch, dinner, and Sunday brunch. Serving New Orleans cuisine such as fried shrimp platters, grilled redfish, and a fully stocked bar. And don't forget about our expanded event seating and local entertainment. Featured on the Best of Food Network's diners, drive-ins, and dives, Katie's Restaurant and Bar.
Burkhart's Air Conditioning, Heating, and Refrigeration has been family-owned and operated since 1989. Burkhart has energy-efficient solutions and offers brands such as Mitsubishi ductless AC units and Amana, the only manufacturer with a lifetime unit replacement warranty. Burkhart's offers maintenance bundle packages that include servicing your AC, generator, and tankless water heater. For more information on the services Burkhart's provides, visit acpromise.com. Burkhart's Air Conditioning, Heating, and Refrigeration, providing comfort for life.
Welcome back to Inside New Orleans Sports. I'm your host, Eric Asher. Mike Detillier of WWL Radio is our guest. Mike, let's head to the collegiate game. First of all, before we get into LSU, I want to ask you about Tulane. Will Hall coming in, his first year, obviously taking over for John Summerall, who's now at Florida. They were able to hold on to the majority of their roster. The coaching staff is pretty much the same. Again, the big question for them going into camp is who will be the quarterback. How good do you think this team can be?
They'll go as far as the quarterback takes them. And, I just feel as though that's important. But it brings me back. This is the summer of last year. And, we were just fortunate all those years. And Tulane Tuesday, and we had Willie Fritz. Willie was the one who thought it. And, and he brought it up to me about, we need to do Tulane Tuesday. And, I told him, we don't cover Tulane, we don't carry the Tulane games. But man, you gonna come on every week? I'm gonna take you. And he was like, I'll come on every week. You just tell me the day. And we came up with Tulane Tuesdays, and Willie did it. And when Coach Summerall came in, he was, I want to do it. As long as I can do it at 4:20 on Tuesdays. Man, what? I'll do this at 4:01 on Tuesdays. And then Will Hall's, he's going to be with us, so we'll have that every Tuesday too. But I think about with Coach Fritz, I think he would have been happy running the football 45 times a game. One guy changed his mind, Will Hall. Will got him to throw the ball. He was the influence to get him to throw the football more. But you got to have the signal caller. But I remember Coach Summerall telling me, every year I got a quarterback, flip of a coin. And he was lucky last year. Okay, he was really lucky of what happened last year with the BYU quarterback and how he got open in the process. And Didn't take him long to say, hey, that's my guy. He wouldn't say it, but come on, I can read between the lines real well with Coach Summerall, because he was normally very honest about telling you stuff. He was really good with it and still is. But I think they'll go as far as the quarterback will take him.
Hall has had an athletic quarterback in the past.
So that's why.
Is it Chris Chameleon?
That's what I think. I think it's Chris's job to start.
Yeah.
How far that'll go remains to be seen. But I think it's Chris's job right now for him to start. He's got a good set of backs, really good.
They are stacked.
That is one area they'll do well. I like their offensive line play. I think that's always critical. You've had some guys with some experience. That's always the last piece of the puzzle.
Lightest offensive line in college football, though.
I'll be honest with you, Eric, that's not a big thing to me. It's so funny to hear and I know Renee wrote that big article about it. And I was telling Renee, because we were talking right after the Louisiana line camp, and we had the mega camp.
Yes.
That a number of coaches were like, man, if I was a head coach in college, I'd want the little smaller line.
So you want more athletic?
I want a little bit more athletic guy, and I want the guy that can get to the second level.
Okay.
What we have today is a bunch of 330 or 340-pound guys. They sort of leaning on one another.
LSU last year.
Okay, there's no push.
Right.
And I had one of the guys with the Raiders tell me this. If I was a college coach, I would want, I love length.
Yes.
Because you can't teach that, but the guy to have really long arms, to have long legs, everything, but he don't have to be 325 pounds.
Right.
Okay, who I'm playing up against, those ends today, what they, 255, 260?
Right.
Okay, I don't need a 300-pound guy blocking that guy. Now, I would like a little bigger guy in the middle, because if you're going to have some size, it's right there. But I get what he was trying to explain to me, that, okay, if I can get a guy that he's, instead of being 60 pounds heavier, he's 30 pounds heavier, but he can move his feet, he can get his hands on that guy a little quicker and move him. All you need is a little slot for that running back to get through. It was an interesting conversation.
Are you seeing that at the line camps now? Are you seeing the more athletic line coming up?
You're seeing a little bit more of it, because a lot of times now, they're even doing this at the high school level. They're moving the bigger guys in the middle. Okay, I can't do nothing about the nose guard. That guy's always going to be big.
Right.
Always going to be. But the edge guys, man, I watched last year with Caden Proctor with Alabama, that first game. Me and Herb Tyler, we watching him play Florida State. That guy from Florida State, he came off the line of scrimmage. Proctor couldn't get out of his stance fast enough to put a glove on him.
Right.
So now, I think, to be honest with you, I think Caden was probably tipping 400 pounds that opening game. Now, he lost some weight, and I thought he played much, much better down the stretch. But when you look at it, I think because of who you're having to play against, that defensive end or edge rusher, he ain't no 270-pound guy most of the time. He's a 255, 260 guy. I don't need a 330-pound guy.
Right.
And now today, if you watch college football, why can't Alabama or LSU? Last year, Texas, they couldn't run the ball at all.
Right.
So what's happening? You're recruiting all these big linemen, they're just leaning on guys. You need to get off the snap and get into the torso of a defensive lineman. I think you will see a little bit of a trend.
Okay.
Let's get the little smaller guy. You know who's done that?
Do you think this is a plus for Tulane?
I think it's not a negative.
Right.
It's not a negative. When you watch Georgia's offensive line, do they have all those 350-pound guys? They don't.
No.
Who can run the football better than them in the SEC?
The athletic can move, no doubt. Their wide receiving core is full of talent. Their running back core is full of talent. Defensively, it looks like that's going to be the side of the ball that's going to carry them early.
Yeah, I think you're right about it. And, Chris Howard, you're talking about a guy that he's going to play at the next level.
Yeah, I agree.
He is a really good player. You return a lot of your because that's the hard thing, secondary. You're always going to lose people. I don't care who you talk to. You're losing a corner, you're losing a safety, you're losing, your nickel guy. But they return a good portion of those guys. Last year, John, he would always brag about, man, I got 10 guys that can play up front, and I run a 3-man front. So he's like, man, how many teams that you know of could play 10 men?
And he was rotating them.
And was rotating. Now he said, do we have the superstar guy? No. But he said, man, we got a lot of good players all across the front. And they've been able to get those guys to come to Tulane. And they got a young defensive coordinator. I'm interested in him, how he handles that, his relationship with players, and some adversity. But the quarterback spot, when you have some I don't know in that, and I remember John telling me, he's like, man, I'm not going to say it on the air, but man, I think Darian Minson's the best guy we got here. And I was like, okay, Coach, why don't you say it? He said, well, I won't say it week 1, but he said, of training camp, but unless something changes, I think Darian's the guy. I think he's our guy. And I'm like, man, you got all. He's like, I'm just telling you. He's like, Mike, can he throw it? He's like, come see, he can throw it. And boy, was he right, and boy, has he cashed in, hasn't he? Duke, Miami, or Florida, and then we know his next stop, because people is, he's just this and that as a quarterback. My thing is, you ain't watched him good. That dude gonna play on the next level, and he'll be a first-round pick.
I would agree. Let's shift to LSU. Lane Kiffin's first year, a total turnover almost of the roster, $40 million of NIL money. Talk about this team. What do you like? What are some of the things that are still question marks in terms of this team going into camp?
They got receivers all across the board, and they all look different. It's like Baskin Robbins. I mean, they got a bunch of flavors. They all built a little different. How he uses all that's great. But you know what? It's not about plays. It's about players. Trey'Dez Green. He's going to be the guy you go to. And I would go to him. Even if he's bracketed, okay, he gives my edge guys one-on-one. He is opening up everything. Big key for them, making sure Sam Levitt stays healthy. Secondly, you got to run the football. If you don't run the football, you're stuck in neutral. But they have put a lot of emphasis on the running game, and they put a lot of NIL money on bringing in guys. So I think that's the big key for them. If you go back in Coach Kiffin's history, no matter what, he has run the ball. You go back to USC days, they ran the ball. When he was at Tennessee, they ran the ball. When he went back to SC, they ran the ball. Okay, you were going to run the football at Alabama because of Coach Saban. And he brought the passing game there that was not there. When you think about his last couple of stops and what he did at Ole Miss, everybody talks about his ability to throw the ball. You know what he does really good? Schemes to run it. Schemes to run the football. And have they found a third cog here? Okay, because we know about Caden Durham. Harlem Berry, tremendous player. Dylan Jones, is that going to be the hammer on this team? Because Harlem is a special athlete. I think Caden Durham's a good runner in this league, and he has shown he can catch the football pretty well. Dylan was supposed to be the guy for Wisconsin last year, supposed to be the lead dog. Then he gets hurt. He's built differently than the other two guys. I mean, he's got some meat on the bone. And so now you've got that threesome at running back. So I'm intrigued on what it's going to look like early, and then the evolution of this team as it gets into October and November. But the tough stretch, I think they beat Clemson, Louisiana Tech. What happens in Oxford, one way or another. But don't let it carry over the following week against a team you've had all kind of issues with, A&M.
It's rough. I'm telling you, look at that schedule, the number of teams in the SEC that are expected to be in the preseason top 25. And then you get a little deeper in the schedule with Alabama and Texas. That's a tough schedule, there's no doubt.
My thing about it is, you hear it a lot, LSU, Ole Miss is going to drop back without Lane. Okay, that may happen, but it ain't happening in 2026. Long as I got Trinidad Chambliss and Kawan Lacey on that team.
Right.
Now, their receiving core looks different, totally different than a year ago. They were explosive at wide receiver. Where they need to get better is in the secondary. I think that Pete Golding did a good job of masking major deficiencies in the secondary. But his front seven was really good.
Yeah. Some of those guys in Baton Rouge now.
Yeah, and Will Echols, you know, he was the big 4- or 5-star recruit. And, you know, early on, he didn't look great. Last year, man, he laced the boots up and he waylaid you last year. And he can play a little inside and outside. I'm telling you, Ole Miss is going to be there, but they got to watch for the trap too. Because even if they beat LSU in Game 3, then you got to go on the road and play in the swamp against Summerall's Florida team the next week. Okay, emotionally, you're not going to be the same team. And he could be laying the trap for you there. So, listen, if you come out of September 3-1, hey, you got, because I think this team will get better as the season gets along. The other part is, when's the last time this team has had a real consistent pass rush?
Right. Well, that's why they went out and got what they got.
They went and get Jordan Ross, Human Malin, and so those two guys are really key up front. And then they brought in that old Cajun coach to coach the defensive inside players. So they're going to get an earful real quick. And I do believe, I don't know about starting, but I think you will see a lot Deuce Gerald's, Richard Anderson. I think those guys are going to have to play.
I think it'll be the rotation as well.
Yeah, I believe that.
Yeah. All right, offensive line has been an issue the last few years at LSU. They went out and spent a lot of money on this offensive line this year. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I feel pretty good on the left side, and their center returning.
Yes.
I'm a big center guy. You know, you bring back that center. You know, he's the heartbeat of your football team. What happens on the right side is the biggest intrigue for me, because man, Weston, he really struggled last year, in pass protection especially. He really struggled. He had feet issues. He had hand placement issues. Can he get better there with a different coach? You know, learning how to steer those guys away. I think he's going to end up being a really good run blocker. But you know, man, I'm just telling you, if they get a lead on people, you know, people say, oh, Lane likes to pour it on by throwing the ball. You know what he likes to do when he gets the lead?
Grind.
Hammer you.
Yes.
And man, in the fourth quarter in September, I don't care where you're playing in the South.
That's right.
It's HOT, baby.
Right.
It's hot.
On the defensive side of the ball, your thoughts on Blake Baker's defense? They've obviously, again, brought in some really good players. They were able to retain some of their players as well, with Weeks obviously being one of those. Your thoughts?
Linebacking core is really
I
good.
really think
When
it is
you
too.
got T.J. Daugherty was the leading tackler for Ole Miss the last 2 years. This football team is much better with Weeks on it than when he was off of it. Man,
Agreed.
he knows how to play and at a real high level. I feel good about the safety position. I think the young star you're going to see, and I watched him play a lot at Boise State, Ty Benefield. Man, that dude
Everybody's
is good.
talking about him.
He can play, and you can use him a lot of different ways. You are sort of paper thin at corner. So if there's an injury, that's where it may show up. But DJ Pickett, again, I've told you, I've never seen a corner that big before in my life to have a corner that lengthy as a player. And one thing that helps a corner out, and I told this to DJ when I met up with him, I was like, you know what really helps you out? And he was like, yeah, I'm getting physically strong. I was like, man, not that, get a pass rush.
That's right.
You know, he laughed. He said, oh, that too. He understands that the pass rush is the key for this football team in 2026. Because now today, you know, you use the passing game a lot of times like an extended handoff, you know, what it is, 2 yards downfield.
Right.
Get your hands up in the air. They're a much better coach team up front today, defensive line-wise, with Kevin Peoples, who I think one day he's gonna be a pro defensive end coach. And Sterling Lucas, I don't know very well. I know him through Pete Jenkins. Those two guys have really been more specialty guys off the edge. and then you bring in Coach O, and 13 first-round pick defensive lineman throughout his career.
Plus.
And, you know, I've told some of these guys, hey, y'all never been told anything before? You fixing on getting told there.
Yeah.
Mason Smith told me the story. He was like, man, the first year I was there, you know, they had a big offensive lineman, man, he gored me, put me on the ground. And he said, man, I got up and he said, Coach O was, hey, you ain't playing Central Lafourche High School anymore. I said, no, he took that shot at me. And, you know, Central Lafourche High School, come on. He was like, man, you know, he let you know if you're doing wrong. He said, nah, he's the first one to tell you when you did right. He said, from that moment he got fired until my final game, I only got told something 5 weeks. That's when Pete Jenkins came in to coach the defensive line. He said, ain't nobody told me nothing. They were so scared, they told him something, he would leave.
Right.
And so I asked this to Coach O 2 days before he takes the job at LSU. He came on with me. I was like, would you change anything? He said, no, I'm going to coach my way. You don't like it and you quit, okay, I'd much rather you quit now than in the middle of an Alabama game.
There you go.
And so I think he's going to be good for LSU, to, especially coaching the interior defensive line. Great, we all know his recruiting exploits.
Right, exactly.
He's fantastic there. But I think from the standpoint of he understands that if you can kind of jam things up in the middle and let Whit Weeks and TJ Dottery get into the seams to make a tackle up the field. He gets that very, very quickly. And so I think, again, the keys are going to be the edge people. But if I have any question marks, it would be you don't have great depth at corner.
I got 2 minutes left. Rapid fire here. Saints make the playoffs, in your opinion?
I think they are an 8-9 team.
Okay, 8-9 team. Second in the
I would think, you know,
they're still fighting for the
man, I'm telling you, I hate to say this. Man, I've been watching Saints since day one.
Right.
Don't be shocked if Atlanta.
Right. Well, Atlanta,
man, they can get after the quarterback.
Well, they got a great coach now.
And can he squeeze everything out of Tua?
Right.
Okay, that's going to be the key. But man, Carolina, Tampa, the Saints, Atlanta, they all look the same
I would
to
agree,
me.
they all lump together. Right. LSU, are they a playoff team?
Yeah, I think they're a playoff team.
Does Tulane make it to the American Championship again this year? Can they win the championship?
I'm going to say no because the uncertainty at quarterback.
Right, right.
I hate to say that, but I think there is a reality check that the team with the better quarterback is going to normally get there.
Yeah.
Even though I like that Coach Hall has been able to keep the majority of those. Now, Eric, I'm going to be honest. I did not think that would happen.
I didn't either.
I thought he'd have major losses, and he did a great job. But he got to find the right signal caller.
Yeah, that's the key, obviously, for every team, but especially for Tulane this time around, no doubt about it. Mike, thanks for the time as always.
Thank you, Eric.
Love having you on
brother.
the program, of course,
Anytime.
as always. And catch Mike on WWL Radio. Mike, what time you start on WWL?
Same time you do.
4 to 6?
Yeah.
4 to 6. There you go. Thanks so much for tuning in. Remember, there's a QR code on your screen that will take you to the WLAE-TV YouTube channel, also to my website, ericasher.com. I say it every week. We are so blessed with so many ways for you to catch our program. WLAE-TV, WLAE-TV 2, Pelican Sports Network, and, of course, the YouTube channel. Set your DVR. You'll never miss the show. You can catch me on the radio same time as this guy, 4 to 6 weekdays, 106.7 The Ticket. You can listen live at 106.7 The Ticket's app. 106.7 The Ticket on the World Wide Web, also at ericasher.com as well. Also, again, iHeartRadio app, TuneIn Radio app, and the digital platforms that take the station and the show with you everywhere. I want to thank, again, the folks here at WLAE-TV who, again, produce our program, but also our underwriters who make it happen. Please support our underwriters, and, of course, the folks here at WLAE-TV. Ron Yeager, Jim Dotson, Alex Chacon, also Doug Simoneau. And back from a little bit of a vacation, William Hill, the best director on the planet. I'm Eric Asher for Mike Detillier. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next week for another edition of Inside New Orleans Sports.
If you are somebody who is struggling, or if you know somebody who is, you're in the right place.
Thursdays at 2:30 p.m.
Yoga, like life, is a process of refining and evolving. Simply slowing down and being aware is a place to begin. Hi, my name is Stacy Milner-Collins. Welcome to Yoga in Practice.
Thursdays at 5 p.m.
In this season of Tastemakers, you are going to meet culinary entrepreneurs who are building, growing, and giving back, all while creating something delicious.
Wednesdays at 1:30 p.m. We're local.